Okay, here we go again. Welcome everybody to the Cool Box Sessions. I am your host, Dave Ordinary, and you're tuned into episode 3, where we have a young, talented individual by the name of Jakin Goldstone, who's only 15 years old. Yet, his logic is beyond his years, his skills is beyond his years. Yeah, and it's actually dope to see young, rappers following a conscious state of mind in these times of trappers. And nothing against the trappers, you know what I mean? But knowledge is beautiful. Tell us, who influenced your sound, let us know. You're 15 years old. What drove you into conscious rap, spitting knowledge? Let us in.
So to really understand what my sound is or the sound that I'm going for, we have to take it back. So when I was 2, I had this MP3 player, and I was only allowed to listen to gospel hip hop. So my father remixed full album, right? Lecrae, 116 click, cross movement, that type of music, And as I got older, I kind of started to develop my own taste. So I remember, I think when I was about 12, my mother showed me the Get Rich or Die Trying movie, 50 Cent. I think I watched it about 5 times that day alone. And that was the beginning. That introduced me. So from 50, I got introduced to Eminem, and then the House of Dre. So your Snoop Dogg's, NWA, and I just fell in love with the whole West Coast sound. And then it started to evolve, right? My father was a huge fan of Jay-Z, so we used to just chill in the car and listen to Jay-Z, Big Pun, Fabulous, Nelly. So yeah, that the whole early 2000s era of hip-hop. So that's where I get a lot of my influence and exposure comes from. And somehow one thing led to another, and I found Mob Deep. And I think about 2 years ago or last year, I went to see them live, and that was just like a beautiful experience at Back to the City. So I do, and eventually I found myself in the hip hop, in the New York hip hop scene, and I just gravitated towards it and fell in love with it. So I enjoy Pro Era a lot, Flatbush Zombies, Capital Steez, R.I.P. Those were some of my favorite artists. So it kind of evolved into this conscious stream music. That's the type of music I am creating and trying to create and evolve. But I don't want it to end here, if that makes sense, I like it to be something more than that and branch off into different genres, alternate, pop, grunge, post-punk. I don't know, I want to create something new, something I can call my own.
Okay, so tell us, would you like to be signed, Was that something you've thought about when you got into music? What was your actual vision for yourself when you started creating?
Okay, I don't have anything against the idea. I'm not against the idea of being signed. It's just I'm not planning to do hip hop or perform in the way that I am currently now forever. So that's for that reason alone. I'll say no. I prefer to remain independent. Eventually, I'd like to branch off what I'm doing, make my connections, and branch it off into an entertainment agency of sorts. Or even my own record label, organizing talents, organizing tours, distribution deals, and all that. So for that reason, no, I would not like to be signed. I'd like to remain independent.
Jakin Goldstone, tell us, what is your sound? Tell us what you're reflecting. Where did your truth come from for this musical vibe you're bringing us?
So my sound would be like a hip hop subdivision, no? Branch off of your Mob Deeps, your Pro Era, Capital Steez, Joey Badass, that conscious stream, hip hop, thoughtful. It's not I thought about it and I'm I'm gonna make this music. It's just kind of what it ended up being, and something beautiful which is going to evolve and change. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, you know.
Okay, so tell us, what is your current view of the state of the country as a young person that, still got to go through school, finishing school and studies? Yeah, tell us what's your outlook on your country.
So let me put it this way. I don't think there's a country in another country that or somewhere else in the world where I'd like to be. You know, I feel like we often look at all the negative aspects of the current economic situation and of South Africa, and especially when it comes to things like racial politics. It's very intricate, like this whole thing with Tyler, right? So it's a social construct, right? So that's the one thing that people need to keep in mind. Race doesn't exist. It's a social construct. We all bleed red, right? So there is nowhere else I'd like to be, you know. I feel like when it comes to the creative scene in Durban specifically, I feel like it is definitely lacking a bit. Like, I remember I went to one of those workshops that the municipality was holding for the creative sector, right? It was on finances, but they also had a Q&A session where local artists were raising some questions. And one of the biggest problems that I found people were having was like the lack of support for the arts in general and the lack of platforms, you know. So I suppose that's what by the time this interview comes out, it would have been finished. I suppose that was my reasoning behind starting The Dungeon, which was a hip-hop variety, mainly hip-hop but variety showcase, you know, to try and create that platform, create those places, and hopefully I can turn it into something beautiful, maybe take it to different parts of the country, you know, and create that platform so for people to showcase their abilities, their thoughts, their ideas, you know. And yeah.
Okay, tell us, who is Jakin Goldstone?
Jakin is constantly evolving. He is self-destructive, and I mean that in the most positive way I can, because sometimes self-destruction is the destruction of a false self. You can't rebuild something beautiful over on the rotten foundations that have been left there before. So no, I feel like I'm very self-critical. I'm a nice guy. I'm curious. I try hard and I take things seriously, you know, but I'm also fun, and yeah, so that's who Jakin is.
Okay, so tell us, what's next for Jakin? I was there at the show at the Bat Center. It was really dope. I mean, that's your first show. Quite a few people you know, very talented young individuals I came across. It was a bummer to see the teacher promoting his own stuff. Like, I mean, support your students. But anyway, forget that. It's nice to see that he's also there showing that he is a part of, you know, the elements of pushing the arts. But anyway, yeah, let us know what's next for Jakin Goldstone. Boom.
Well, I'm only 15, right? So I still got some time to figure out who I am as an artist, who I am as a person, and my aspirations, you know. But for now, singles. No one wants an album from someone they don't know. So I just need to keep on grinding out those singles until I get something that pops and use that platform to get to the next step, the next level, you know. And hopefully I can bring the people that I love with me. Like, you know, Ayusha, he's one of my close friends, especially as an artist. He's like 16 and he's super dope. And hopefully I can create something that the community of friends and loved ones which I've created can all benefit from, you know.